Hello guys, today I'm going to be starting my uh, franchise starter series. Essentially, I will be choosing a standard team and building the best possible team as quickly as possible with them. So I'm going to be doing this in the order of the difficulty that I think those teams are in terms of building around. So I will be starting with the Los Angeles Dodgers. As far as setting up this team, I will be using the Nippon League and the KBO, the two highest quality non-major league team leagues in the world, and I'll be using a standard season. There will be a couple other settings I will be changing as soon as I boot up this game. So once we get in there, I will hop right into that, and then we can get started on actually building up this team. Alright, well, I will be playing in Commissioner mode with Cannot Be Fired on, and I'm, of course, choosing the Dodgers. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do here is go to League Settings. I'm going to go to Global Settings, turn on ratings greater than the maximum, and, of course, enable player profiles. I'm now going to go to Rules, enable the National League DH, and let's see here, where is it? Here we go. I'm going to set the minimum buyout amount to $0. I'm going to turn the generation of all of these things up to more. I'm going to allow trading of injured players and draft picks. And with that, let's take a look at this team. So obviously, the Dodgers are totally stacked. Only 3 players who are not top tier players. Everybody else is insanely good. There are 3 non-top tier players are still really talented. Team chemistry is really good. Obviously, financials are really good. And a whole bunch of talent, top tier farm system, basically everything you could possibly want in your starting team. So the very first thing that we are going to do with this Dodgers team is go to the trade screen. Get used to this, you're going to see it a lot. Go to the Mariners and trade for Evan White. Now, this is going to be something you're also going to see a lot. I think literally every single franchise, this is going to be the first or one of the first moves I'm going to make. Evan White is extremely talented infielder. He can play third base, he can play first base. He's got a good hitting ability. He's very good contact. He gets on base a lot. He has a decent amount of power. He can also play the outfield really well. He's good in left, he's good in right. He can play center. He's very versatile. Not much that you can't like about him. And he is one of the cheapest players you can possibly trade for in this game. So we're going to look at the worst possible option here, give it to them, and then start getting them to retain his salary, which they will usually do without getting too much extra in return. So I'm giving up a worthless third base prospect to get Evan White in a one-on-one. Now I'm going to up the salary retained to 50%. And as you can see, I don't have to give up all that much more to get them to retain that 50% salary. I'm going to give up this worthless starting pitching prospect who does not have the control or movement to make it at the major league level. Now I'm going to ask for a 100% retained salary. And once again, they are not asking for very much. Yadier Alvarez is a burnt out 24-year-old starting pitching prospect with absolutely no control. So I don't really have any use for him. Maybe the Mariners can find something. That's not my concern. Now, Jared Kelenic is an extremely talented prospect, 70 grade home run power, 75 grade eye, and 70 grade contact. And he's got a really good personality, so of course, I'm going to ask for him. Now, as you can see, these guys are all really talented players, but since I'm acquiring Evan White to play first base for me, I don't really need Max Muncy anymore. I can give him up and get Kelenic in return. But, of course, I'm not going to start at Kelenic. Let's take a look at Julio Rodriguez. Other than his Void K's, he's also a really talented prospect. So let's see if we can't acquire him as well. They're asking for a bit more, but in my opinion, Julio Urias isn't worth anywhere near what Kelenic is, or I mean Rodriguez. So I'm willing to give him up. The next thing I'm going to do is take a look at their Major League roster and see if there's any players here that I could possibly have a use for. Austin Nola catches my eye. He's a good catcher who's above average in all offensive categories except home run power. He's got decent defense and he can play first base and second base. Plus, he's got one of the better personalities in the game. Let's see if I can't add him into the contract. They will not agree to it. So instead, I'm going to take a look at one of their relief pitchers. I actually don't think they have anybody else worth trading for, so I'll ask for a draft pick. And they're not happy about this draft pick, so I will instead ask for money. And they're not happy about the money, so I will drop that amount a little bit, and there we go. They are more than happy to make this trade. So now, since they probably would have been willing to accept a little bit more, I'm going to ask for draft picks. I'll see what the highest possible draft pick I can get to complete this trade will be. And they're good with all the way up to a 5th round draft pick, so I'm probably going to be able to get a pretty solid pick here. Yeah, they're willing to give me a 5th round draft pick here. That is a pretty solid addition. So in this trade, I'm giving up I'm giving up Max Muncy and Julio Urias and a whole bunch of guys who don't mean anything for a really solid prospect who can play in the majors right now and 2 really, really strong prospects as well as a 5th round pick. So this does not hurt my major league team much, but it helps restructure my team in a way that I like. So now let's take a look at some more teams and figure out what other players I could have a potential interest in. Well, as you can see, the Diamondbacks have Zach Gallen and Ketel Marte, who are pretty talented. So I will be asking for Zach Gallen to help complete my rotation. Of course, he's not coming cheaply, so I'm not going to ask for him. Now, Christian Robinson's a solid prospect. He's got high contact and home run power. I will see if I can get him. And he is also more expensive than I am willing to pay. Alec Thomas is a really high contact, high eye prospect, so he could also be interesting as a future top of the order type. And the asking price on him is once again higher than I would be willing to reasonably pay. Well, I'm willing to give up Graterol, but I can usually get a higher return than Thomas for him. The Braves usually have a couple interesting pieces. Christian Pache is a really high defense center fielder who is a well above average hitter, and he's got pretty solid speed. So I'll see if I can't get him. The asking price here is really steep, of course. Dustin May is probably the worst player that they'd be willing to take, and he is still quite strong. So I'll leave this trade open, but I'm extremely unlikely to accept it as it is. Now, Ozzy Albies is on a really solid team-friendly contract, so I'll see if I can get him. Almost certainly not, though. Yeah, nobody would make that trade work. All right, let's see about Acuna. He's also on a pretty team-friendly contract. Once again, I don't have anybody who can make it work, so I suppose I would probably have to settle for Posh in this trade. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything else. I mean, I think Freeman, I think they're willing to trade Freeman at a reasonable price. Yeah, all I'd have to give up is Peterson. This is more than worthwhile trade. So I would leave this idea open for now, but I'm not going to make it. Now let's take a look at the Orioles. They don't have many MLB pieces who are interesting, but they've got a couple really interesting prospects. Let's start with Adley Rutschman. He is a very talented catcher, solid ability and good arm, high contact, high home run power and discipline. He can do pretty much everything, and he's almost MLB ready. I don't have any players who can make this deal work, so their asking price is high. But if I throw in Will Smith, the problem looks like that they just can't afford him. Yeah, so they're willing to take this proposal with Will Smith. They'll accept Will Smith for Adley Rutschman. Now I'm going to take a look at their other prospects. And by the way, the reason I'm willing to make this trade is Will Smith is not the best defensive catcher. Adley Rutschman is better all around. Now I'm going to take a look at their other prospects and see if there's anybody else I'd have an interest in. Looks like they've got a couple interesting infield prospects here in Mountcastle and Bannon that I could potentially trade for. Austin Hayes would be more of a depth guy, but I wouldn't mind having him thrown in either. It's probably Mountcastle that's my best option here. He's got decent contact and home run power, although I don't think he would really have any value to this organization. Let's take a look at these guys down here. Yeah, none of them are really interesting. Let me see if I can get their first round pick. Yeah, I'd have to give up Kellenic. I'm not willing to do that at all. And they are willing to give up their second round pick at no additional cost. That's a pretty good addition. It may not be a first rounder, but it's definitely something. Now I'm going to see if I can get Bannon or Mountcastle in. I like Bannon better because he's got better defense. And it looks like I'm not going to have to throw much else in. Most of these prospects have absolutely no value to me. Alright, let's look at this reliever. Yeah, he doesn't really look like he's going to amount to much. And I'm going to see if I can get an additional draft pick and then close up this trade. And it looks like I won't, so I'm just going to close up this trade as it is. Oh, looks like they're willing to take on 5% of Will Smith's contract this year, so I guess I'll squeeze that little extra bit out. And that is a very solid addition. All right, the Red Sox have a couple really interesting prospects that they're willing to sell cheap on. Feliz is kind of one of them, but Jeter Downs is who we're looking at first. He's got pretty solid tools across the board. He's a decent defender, he's fast, and he's usually very cheap. Austin Barnes, Ross Stripling, Chris Taylor, none of those guys have any real value to this organization. So let's take a look at Austin Barnes first. Now, Rafael Devers can occasionally be a throw-in here, so I'm going to see if I can grab him in this deal. Not affordably, so I will leave Devers out. And let's see about Verdugo, Alex Verdugo. He's also more expensive than I would want to pay. All right, now let's check out Feliz. And as you can see, they're not willing, or they're not needing too much more in this trade in order to complete it. So I will add this 21-year-old catching prospect with a star and a half of potential. And do they have anybody else interesting? Dahlbeck can be interesting, but I don't like his avoid Ks being that low. Tristan Casas, I believe, is interesting, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, he's got a pretty poor personality. I'll ask about him, but I'm not likely to keep him around because he does have such a poor personality. He's worth more than this, that's for sure. So I'm willing to throw in Floro to get him, I believe. Yeah, this is a worthwhile trade. All right, let's take a look at their draft picks. Can we add their first round draft pick to this trade at all? Yeah, that's a fairly reasonable price. Ross Stripling is not too valuable, and that's a first round pick we're talking about. So yeah, I think I'm going to complete this trade one way or another. Yeah, I'll ask for money to complete this. This is a very good trade. If you have the opportunity to pull off a trade like this in your sim, make sure you do it. This is going to build up the future very well. Two quality prospects, one high-end prospect, and a very high draft pick. All right, the White Sox have a ton of interesting pieces to look at. We're going to start with Nick Madrigal. Very high contact. He's going to have a very high average, solid defender. Um, he's going to get on base quite a bit, and let's see what it'll take to acquire him. Cartaya is not very valuable. This is basically giving up a catcher who is not going to amount to too much and is going to be stuck behind Rutschman anyway for one of the better second basemen that you can acquire. Of course, the White Sox have more interesting young players than just Madrigal, so we're going to be taking a look at guys like Robert, Jimenez, etc. So Jimenez and Robert aren't as exciting as they are in most saves, but they're still quality players. Kopech looks pretty interesting in the save, so I will ask for him. What's the deal with Josiah Gray? Yeah, he's not bad, but he's a fly ball pitcher. So this looks fine. I'd be willing to add Josiah Gray to get Michael Kopech. Yoan Moncada looks really strong in this save. I'll ask about him, but I have no intentions of acquiring him because he will probably be too expensive. Yeah. Alright, let's see about Cease. He looks pretty decent. They want too much for him, though. Okay. Eloy Jimenez. Do I want him or Robert more? I think I'd rather have Robert, but I doubt that the White Sox are willing to cheaply give up either. Yeah, that's not worth trading. Let's see about Andrew Vaughn. He's always a really interesting prospect. Solid power and on-base skills and a really high eye. Although they do want quite a bit for him. All right, let's see about draft picks then. Round 1. Nope. Round 2. And I guess I'll just ask for cash to round this trade out. I don't really want anything less than the second round pick here. All right, there we go. So we're giving up basically two minor prospects for a couple of major big league pieces. All right, let's take out the Cubs. They don't usually have anyone too interesting. Amaya I'll ask about, but I don't really expect much from him, even if we can acquire him here. He will be too expensive anyway. Nico Horner. Oh wow, that's really interesting. He's a solid shortstop. He's got really high contact. Definitely worth at least looking into. I don't want to pay that much for him though. All right, Stuart Fairchild, recently acquired by the Diamondbacks and definitely nowhere near that good. I've got some interesting prospects here. Nolan Jones, high power and discipline, but very low eye. I avoid Ks. Aaron Bracho is an interesting second base prospect. Where is he? Tyler Freeman. Here we go. Tyler Freeman's a pretty interesting second base prospect. He's got really high avoid Ks. He's got decent contact and on base ability, and he's got really good personality. So he's somebody that you want to acquire if you can get him cheaply. He's not going to come cheaply. I'm not going to trade for him. All right, moving on. The Rockies. They don't have anybody too interesting. That's not really a surprise. The Tigers have a couple interesting pitchers. And Isaac Paredes is a really interesting third baseman as well. I'll be asking for him. What we're looking at here is their top three pitchers, Casey Mize, Tariq Skubal, and I'm drawing a blank on the last guy. Mize is far and away the best of the three in OOTP. He's usually also the most expensive of the three, however. Oh yeah, Matt Manning's the last guy. Matt Manning actually looks not bad. I might be willing to trade for him here. And Skubal also looks pretty good. All right, I'll ask about Skubal. He's usually cheaper. Or not. All right. Well, I guess I will have to settle for Paredes if I can acquire him reasonably. Yeah, even he's too expensive. The Tigers are not flipping any of their prospects right now. Let's see about Willie Castro. Nope. All right. Beal looks interesting, but not enough to ask for. The Astros don't really have anyone I'm looking at. Bobby Witt can be kind of interesting, but I don't think he's worth trading for. Ooh, Joe Adell. That is really high potential right there. He looks very good. What would it take to get Adell? All right, well, at this point, I'm actually able to give up Lux because I have Madrigal to play second base. Let's take a look at him in this sim. So he's got solid tools across the board, especially high contact, but he's not a good defender. Giving up Lux is not a huge deal to get somebody like this. Adell is just an absolute beast. Even if he's just what OSA thinks, that's still a very, very strong player. I will be needing more in this trade than just Adele to make it work, however, since Lux is a high value piece. Unfortunately, the Angels don't really have any interesting prospects. Shohei Ohtani would probably make this work, though. I'd be more than happy to add him. Let's see here. Andrelton Simmons is on an expiring contract. He's a high shortstop. All right, he would not take anything else to add. How about... No. No. No, the Angels are lacking in their talent for sure. This isn't a bad trade, but I'm not going to accept it yet. I'm going to come back later. The Marlins have a couple interesting prospects. Lewin Diaz is definitely somebody you want to ask for. And I can give up a far inferior first base prospect to get him here. I would definitely take Diaz over that guy. Let's take a look at Sixto Sanchez, their ace prospect. Solid stuff and very good control. I will definitely be asking about him here. He's usually too expensive, yeah, to acquire though. Jose Devers, the brother of Rafael Devers, he's got pretty good contact. That's not going to work either. All right, how about your draft picks? What if I throw in my draft picks? Still not good enough. Okay. Major league pieces. I know the Marlins actually have a couple interesting ones. Oops. Eisen Diaz. Let's see here. Yeah, Alcantara looks fine. He's got some pretty decent arsenal. That is not going to do it. All right. Well, let's see about money then. Not that the Marlins have much of it. Wow, yeah, they are really pinching their pennies here. All right, well, we got 25K out of it at least. On to the Brewers. Yeah, they don't have any interesting prospects, but I would definitely like to take a look at Corbin Burns here. He could be an interesting starting pitcher for sure. And it looks like he's actually not too expensive either. Justin Turner, Chris Taylor even to get him. Yeah, this is a very good trade. Can we get anything else back? I don't really want Peralta. Omar Narvaez, is he good? No, I don't like him. Urias is interesting enough. I'd love to add Keston here, but he's always way too pricey. All right, how about draft picks? That's more than I would like to give up. How about money? All right, well, they're more than willing to give up money. How about Josh Hader? Nope. Well, they really like Jock Peterson for some reason. All right, well, I'm going to take another look at their prospects and see if there's anybody at all that I would be interested in trading for. There has to be somebody. High range infielder, I'll take him. I guess I'll just complete this trade as it is. I'll get him to retain Burns' salary as well. Yeah, that's a good trade. All right, let's jump right back into it. The Twins have a couple interesting pieces, I believe. Royce Lewis is definitely one of them. He's really good at everything except gap power. He's even a very solid shortstop defensively. Don't really want to give any of those guys up to get him, though. Kurloff looks like a pretty interesting piece as well. And Kolarek is definitely not too much to ask for in this case. Let's see here. What else do the Twins have that we could potentially trade for? Luis Arias is an interesting second baseman, too. He's similar to Nick Madrigal, but in this save he's got higher eye/discipline. I might as well ask about him, although I don't have any intentions to actually pay up for him. Yeah, the Twins are getting clingy to their draft picks, so I think this is pretty much the end of the line in terms of what I'm going to be able to get here. All right, well, there we go. We have added a top prospect once again. Let's see what the Yankees have to offer. All right, well, Deivi Garcia in this save looks pretty interesting. He's a fly ball pitcher. That's not a big deal in LA. He's got below average movement and control, but really high stuff. Might as well ask about him. All right, giving up Alex Wood doesn't seem like too high of a price to pay. Do they have anybody else? I'm kind of surprised that I'm struggling to find these lesser prospects with value. I guess the shortstop is interesting enough to at least ask about. All right, here we go. And of course, the draft picks. And the Yankees don't want to give those up either. All right, well, let's take their money. When all else fails, be sure to get money. All right, there we go. On to the Mets. Ooh, Ronnie Mauricio looks pretty interesting. Andres Jimenez is always a good shortstop. And speaking of shortstops, Luis Guillorme is one of the better ones to add. He's got he's good at getting on base, and he's a really, really good defender. Unfortunately, it looks like the Mets are asking for way too much for him in this save, so I'm not going to trade for him. Edwin Diaz you can sometimes get. Let's see about him. Uh, all right, well, it doesn't look like I'm going to get anybody from the Mets. I'll ask about their prospects, though. Yeah, nobody's coming over here. The A's have some interesting players for sure. Ooh, this Nick Allen guy looks really interesting, actually. Very high I slash discipline and avoid Ks, and he looks like a solid defender at shortstop. And he's also pricier than I would like to pay. Puck, I think, can come over. He has a really solid arsenal. I don't think I'm going to get anyone from the A's at this time either. Alec Boehm from the Phillies is an interesting piece. Really good across the board and a solid defender at first base. Yeah, let's see about him. And Jock Peterson is not too much to ask for, neither is Bruised or Graterol. I guess I'll throw in Graterol and see what else I can get out of the trade. I know Noel's on that contract, but if we can get them to retain some of it, that could be a well worthwhile acquisition. I think the same goes for Wheeler, but I'd rather have Nola. And they don't want to trade him. Alright, well, I guess I'm going to have to stick with this. Ooh, how about Arrieta? Isn't he on a really bad contract? Yeah, he could be a meaningful addition to the rotation. Hopefully. And, of course, he should actually make it easier to trade for some of these guys. Let's see what it takes to get Bohm now. Yeah, there we go. Absolutely nothing. Arrieta could potentially contribute to this team, and I have to give up absolutely nothing to get a top player. Deals like this are something you want to be on the constant lookout for. And it's only 1 year left on Arrieta's deal, too, so with all the money that we've opened up, that is not a big add by any means in terms of salary. What else could the Phillies give us here? All right, now let's try asking about Nola. Okay, well, it looks like they're pretty stuck on keeping Nola, so yeah, I guess I'm just gonna ask for cash here. An easier way to do this would probably just be seeing how much of Arrieta's contract they're willing to take on. 5%, that's not too bad. That's 1 million. All right, there we go. On to the Pirates. Chris Archer usually comes cheap and he's not too bad. I'm willing to ask about him. Oh, he's quite cheap. They might actually be willing to pay me to take him on. Let's see who I can get here from their prospect pool. Cabrian Hayes is interesting. Mitch Keller, I believe, can be interesting. Yeah, let's ask about Keller. He's got a pretty interesting arsenal. Nope. All right, how about Hayes? Let's see about him. Well, they're not asking too much for Hayes. I'll come back to this bit of the deal, though. And I'll just ask for them to retain part of Archer's contract instead. All right, well, I guess I'm not doing that. He's on a 1-year deal? I thought he had 2 years. Yeah, he does, a team option. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, well, then I'll just ask for a little bit of cash. There we go. On to the Padres, who have Mackenzie Gore. All around, very good pitching prospect. Unlikely they're willing to give him up. Campusano is pretty interesting as a catching prospect. Patino's also a really interesting pitching prospect. He could probably enter the rotation this year. All right, doesn't look like the Padres are willing to sell any of their pieces here. Okay, let's see about Ramos. No, the Giants probably won't give anything up either. We've already fleeced the Mariners. The Cardinals have definitely a couple interesting pieces. Carlson and Orman are definitely both working or looking at. All right, Jock Peterson's definitely not too much to ask here. Let's see if we can't get Carlson thrown in. Yeah, this is a really good trade. Who to give up, though? It looks like Kopech or Kirilov are probably the better options. Or I mean, Garcia. Kopech or Garcia. What does Kopech look like right now? Yeah, I'll give up Kopech. He's got a poor personality. All right, well, here we are. We're getting 2 top-tier prospects and giving up very little in return. I'll ask about Flaherty, but I seriously doubt they're willing to trade him. I'll also take a look at DeYoung. I might ask for him. I'll ask for him. All right, well, I guess I'm just going to have to settle for what they're offering at this point. Definitely not a bad package, though. Carlson and Orman for essentially Peterson and a back of the rotation starter, back to middle of the rotation starter. All right, there we go. That is a very good trade. Onto the Rays and number 1 prospect, Wander Franco. Definitely have to ask for him. He's more likely to end up at second base or third base in your save, but look at that sparkling potential. 95 contacts, 70 gap power, 65 home run power, 80 I/discipline, and 85 avoid Ks. I will give up whatever it takes to acquire Wander Franco, and it's not going to take that much. Gavin Lux by himself for the top prospect in the game. Let's see about Brendan McKay getting thrown in. That's a possibility. I think I'm willing to give up Dustin May to get McKay. McKay, I don't think is a bad first baseman, at least in terms of his potential. Oops, wrong guy. And Dustin May is good, but he gets by. I think McKay has a better arsenal. I'd want a little bit more to make this part of the trade work, but this is definitely something I'm open to. Let's see about Tampa Bay's active roster. Charlie Morton's got a really solid arsenal all around. And they're not willing to give him up. All right, how about Willie Adams? Or Adames, or however it's pronounced. All right, well, I will ask about Alvarado. Yeah, I think I'm just going to leave this. As a Gavin Lux and Dustin May for Wander Franco and Brendan McKay. What does OSA think of McKay? I want to make sure that my scout's not too. Yeah, that's pretty close. All right, let's see about draft picks and cash. So that's a no on the draft picks. How much cash can I get? More than I would have thought, actually. Huh, maybe they're willing to give me a second round pick here. Yeah, looks like they're willing to give me a second round pick for this hose guy. Oops. Guess they're not willing to retain McKay's contract, so there we go. And we have acquired the top prospect in baseball. I don't think the Rangers have too many interesting pieces here. Yeah, let's move on. All right, the Blue Jays have Alejandro Kirk and Nate Pearson, both of whom, wow. Wow, look at that. That is unbelievable level of talent from Kirk. I have got to get him, if at all possible. It is very possible. All right, let's see here. Looks like Devi Garcia is the odd man out here. But I would like to add Nate Pearson to this deal if I can. All right, well, I would like to add some kind of pitching to this deal. Or Vladimir Guerrero. I would not mind adding Vladimir Guerrero. I would at that price, though. Bo Bichette would be another really good addition. All right, how about getting Hyunjin Ryu back to the Dodgers? He's got a decent all-around arsenal and really high control. And it doesn't look like Hyunjin Ryu is coming back, so I guess we're gonna have to pretty much just stick with this. All right, let's see about their number 5 overall draft pick. Okay, then it's just gonna have to be cash rounding out this trade. All right, there we go. On to the final team, the Washington Nationals. Carter Kieboom's always a really good trade addition. Luis Garcia is too. All right, well, it looks like we are going to ooh, yeah, Juan Soto with that 95 contact, 95 eye, 75 home run power, and 75 contact. Let's see if I can't build a package to get me him. Let's start this with Mookie Betts fully retained. Well, now they're willing to take Bellinger or Bueller. That's not too bad. I don't think he has a long-term contract yet. Yeah, we'd have to sign him to a long-term contract before he gets too pricey. All right, how about Brewster Graterol? Do they value Graterol? They do not value Graterol. How about Corey Seager? He's also on an expiring well, he's got 1 year left in addition. Let's retain him completely, see if that changes their mind. Now they're willing to take Brendan McKay. I don't want to give Brendan McKay up. Let's see about contracts here. Is there anyone too pricey to be worth keeping? Do they think Scherzer is too pricey? They can't trade him anyway. I don't think anybody here is going to be um, helpful in my quest to acquire Scherzer. Let's see about David Price. That made it worse. Okay. Who else do people like? Enrique Hernandez. People like Enrique Hernandez for some reason. That's also not going to get it done. I really don't want to throw in Walker Buehler or Cody Bellinger here. What's the deal with Caleb Ferguson? Yeah, let's see if he gets it moving. He will not get it moving. Okay, well, I'm going to ask for somebody a little bit less pricey and see if that changes anything. Oh, right, I still can't ask for Scherzer. That gets it done for Strasburg. Okay, how about Turner? Combined with Corbin. Combined with Strasburg. Corbin 100% retained. Turner 100% retained. Okay, let's get Corbin and Turner out of here and just have Strasburg retained. I might actually do this deal where Strasburg is retained mostly by the Nats. I don't think I'd do this over Soto, but I would do this. Oh, here we go, Pollock. I'd be more than happy to get rid of Pollock. Okay, how about 100% retained? 75% retained. Okay, now they actually do want Seager. So I will throw in Seager, and let's see if this gets it done. Or at least gets it closer to done. How about 100% retained? I don't want to give up any of those players. Okay, let's see if this gets them closer to willing to trade Soto. Oh, well, now they're willing to take on Rutschman. Let's see if we can throw in a draft pick and if that changes the board at all. Now they're also willing to take Franco. Well, that's at least progress, I suppose. Okay, well, who else is here that I don't really care for? I don't know if there's anybody here that other teams would find valuable. Joe Kelly, here we go. I don't care about Joe Kelly. That didn't shift the needle enough. All right, I'm going to throw Boston's first round pick back in. Oh, I think I'm gonna have to give up McKay if I want this to work. I just paid so much to get McKay. Let's see here. Who do I have in DFA? Okay, I still have Archer, Arrieta, Burns, and White in DFA. Plus all the prospects I've got. So this is not a bad team. I could have sworn I traded for Andrelton Simmons, but I think that was part of the Angels trade that I never finished. Okay, sweet. Well, they apparently don't value the draft picks very much. Although that's more than I would have expected based on that reaction. Oh dear. Okay, well, let's see about second round pick. They're willing to get their second round pick, no questions asked. Okay. All right. Pineda has a very good personality, and I don't want to pay that much for him, so I'll just ask for money and then finish this trade up. And this is starting to run a little bit long, so with the Juan Soto trade, I will finish up this video. I will not be done. I will increase, or I'll have multiple parts to this, so there will be more to come. I'm not done making trades, even the initial ones, so keep tuned for what's coming next with the Dodgers.